Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 7th podcast. It's your boy, JamesDub, and I'm here with Wispsi. You guys probably remember Wispsi from our first podcast, and I had such a good time with this man. Continually have a good time with this man. I just had to have him back. So, hey, Wispsi, how you doing, bro? Welcome back.
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for inviting me back. I had a lot of fun too last time, so really happy.
Yeah, nice, dude. I love talking to you, man. Like we I feel like we get along so well. I can't speak for you, but yeah, I could do this literally all the time. And just as a bit of backstory for people that don't know about Wispsi and I, we've held a plethora of tournaments together. We even chatted together on stream tonight, which was super awesome. And whenever I want some insight into games, and I want some educated information put out there, Wispsi's the guy. Love it. So how have you been since we caught up on the last podcast, man? What's been happening?
I've been good. Life's been getting busier. We're all back to work now, full time, and also been doing a lot of the streaming. There's been so many tournaments and big tournaments as well. Since you sponsored them, and so yeah, I've been good, but pretty busy.
Yeah, well, busy is good, man. Like busy keeps us going. Like it's like when I used to work at the coffee shop. One of those jokes that you'd always have with the customers, you'd be like, oh, they're like, how you doing? You're like, oh, it's busy. Like, oh, busy is good, makes the day go faster. Like it's in every interaction kind of thing.
That's funny. I don't know. For me, it depends what you're busy with, right? Like I remember I used to work at a bar sometimes for holidays and things like that. And when I was doing that, I was happy when it was empty. Like, because I wasn't tied to the business or anything, like I didn't care if we were making sales or not. So for me, like I can just sit, there's so many things I can go through, in my mind or whatever, and it's cool. I'm okay, not having anything that I have to do, because there's a lot of things that I'm happy to be, doing or thinking about on my own. Whereas when I'm busy doing something boring or tedious, it's I feel it more than just having nothing.
No, I feel that, man. I don't mean to get too deep too quick, but when you are in those those scenarios, what do you quite often think about? Like, what's like your because I remember when I used to play, like even with Gods, I'll think about different God things. When I used to play Dragon Ball, I used to literally strategize Dragon Ball Z card decks in my head. Like, have you got certain things that you like to certain places you like to go? If that makes sense.
It really, I don't know. It really depends what I'm feeling at the time, or what I of interested in or anything. Like, it'll be all over the place. I will, yeah. It's like nothing specific. Yeah, if I'm playing a game, then yeah, I might be thinking about that game, or how I can improve this, or what I did wrong there and what should happen next time in some certain situation, or some new plan, that something like that. But at the same time, it can just be like life stuff, right? Like just people, like some things that people do, because people are funny creatures. They make no sense. If I've read something interesting, I'm not by any means any kind of expert or even amateur in the matter, but my newsfeed on my phone is full of all these science articles on random new quantum mechanics things they're discovering and stuff like that. And sometimes you just kind of wander down the rabbit hole, and then a damn customer comes in and you're like, oh.
What the hell? And the other question is, when you're working in the bar and you were alone, did you ever because when I used to work in bars doing DJing and stuff, I don't think there was ever a night of working at a bar where we didn't drink. Is that similar? Like, do you find yourself on the sauce at work sometimes just because you're in a bar?
So in the bar I worked, we had a pretty strict no drinking when you're working policy.
Damn it.
And so yeah, so when we're on the job, I didn't drink that much,
Mm,
but people would buy me drinks, as you do, I guess.
mm.
I don't know. I never bought the barman a drink, but some people do. And so I would, they'd buy the drinks, and we'd get like just a receipt for it, and then have it at the end, together once the bar's closed.
Well,
But
man, after work drinks. Sorry, James. Sophia just came in and literally just put the light on like crazy, but it's okay. We're all good now. It's okay, Snow. It's okay with that one. Yeah, after work drinks, dude. I used to find that was kind of like a pretty. If I'm gonna be super vulnerable with you, man, I found it sometimes a bit destructive. Like I'd finish work, and then instead of just going straight home, you'd get your. I mean, even when I was chefing, you'd get your free 2 drinks after work, and I found that sometimes to be quite. If I'm being honest, like it's not like we're streaming or anything. It's just you and me talking.
yeah.
I found it to be, a destructive kind of habit to get into. Have you seen that before, or could you see how that could kind of happen?
I mean, I can see how it can happen. When I was working in a bar, it was usually I'd be working in this bar back at home, when I was home from holidays from uni.
Mm,
And so when I was at uni in the beginning, I used to drink a lot, because it was the thing to do, right? Like, I've never had a problem giving up anything that people find addictive. But at the same time, a lot of the times I didn't see the reason to give it up,
mm,
right? Like, I don't get any withdrawal symptoms. Like, when I decided to give up smoking, I made the decision, and I gave it up. I was smoking like 40, 50 cigarettes a day. And
shit.
then, one day I just was like, you know what? I don't feel like it anymore. And stopped, and didn't smoke again, cigarettes, tobacco. You know, Not saying I never smoked anything again, but I definitely never smoked tobacco again.
My man. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, wow.
and so with the alcohol, I was drinking like at uni, a lot. My first year, there were, I got it. I had some friends, and there was parties every night, and I I spent way too much of my loans and grants on alcohol and cigarettes and things of that nature,
Mm,
and I ended up having to retake my first year because we start in like September, and by the time we came around to like November, I ended up getting glandular fever. And
shit.
following that, there was post-viral fatigue. I literally couldn't do anything until like February.
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah. And so I then retook my first year, and did a lot of partying still, but less.
Mm,
Um, and I'm a pretty heavy set guy anyway, and my body's always been, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dick, but it's kind of like stronger than average.
oh
Um,
my god.
like I always got ill less than everybody else.
Mm,
I was, I work out not at all, and yet I'm usually stronger than everybody else around, or at least the majority.
mm,
So it's when it comes to alcohol, my tolerance level just like when it comes to any kind of drug or anything like that, it can hit me hard at first, but my tolerance builds super fast.
mm,
And so when I'd go out in England, I would spend over £100 every night on a night out,
mm.
which is it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of drinking. So,
Wow.
these people, I'm working at, and as I said, some people will buy you drinks, but not that many. So it's only like, 5 or 6 drinks at most.
Mm.
And for now, that'd be quite a bit for me. But then, um, yeah, you most people couldn't even tell I was tipsy.
That's interesting, actually. Like Spring said, you just built differently, dude. That's a big compliment. I love it. And another thing, you know, the hair, the beards, brothers from another mother. You and me, dude. I love it. But it's interesting, bro, because I did a bit of research on that. When I was DJing, I kind of got a little bit worried about the amount of alcohol I was drinking, like every night. When I was DJing 5 nights a week, I'd be drinking all the time. And like you said, tolerance comes into it and you stop getting as inebriated. But, you know, then I found out that the alcohol's still doing the same amount of damage. Like, regardless of how you're feeling, the alcohol is still cooked, like it's fucking with your liver and whatever just as much. So, I mean, that's actually, yeah. So I don't think some people realize just how dangerous that actually is. You know what I mean? Like, some people, basically what I'm trying to say is how drunk we get sometimes prevents us from alcohol poisoning. And the fact that you could drink so much and not get completely drunk means that, you know, you could actually cause some serious damage there without your body just saying, hey, that's enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, alcohol sucks. Alcohol is a terrible thing, and I mean, I don't drink like at all anymore, and it's not because I like had a problem. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I drank a lot, but and that was a problem, but not because it was an addiction problem, just because alcohol sucks. That's why it was a problem. But you know, it came to the point where, you know, I was staying, you know, relatively sober much longer than other people around me who were getting drunk very quickly. And what I would notice is that, you know, you'd have like a lot of people would be, you know, they'd be sat there, you know, like they'd be sat like, you know, there like depressed or something, or they'd, you know, like, I don't know, be like, you know, so you'd see the guys like dancing up on girls or something like that, and you know, like generally like not having a great reception or not having a great time, you know, large, you know, hours sometimes would be spent by a lot of people, you know, like kind of complaining at a friend or something like that, you know, and not, it's funny because, you know, these people, they wouldn't even be talking to each other, right? They'd be talking to themselves, but they'd pause and let the other person talk to themselves. And, you know, like neither were following the conversation, neither were having a conversation. It was just one person saying something and then they pause and the other person talks to themselves and continues their own conversation with themselves. And then they pause.
Oh, wow.
And then the next morning, you know, this was the funniest bit because, you know, you see these people, a lot of the time they're not having as much fun as they seem to think they are. And then the next morning, you come in like, oh man, what a great night we had. Yeah. Like, oh, and this girl, man, she was so into me. Yeah, she was fit, mate. She was fit. You know, and like, I'm not even joking. And them memories were so different to what actually happened, and so many times, like from the things that they said, and like I would never step in and contradict them because, you know, why bother, right? Like they're clearly happy, but their memories were so different that a lot of the times, like they would say something and they kind of talk themselves into it. And like they would be remembering things that never happened, that were completely different, right? Like, and this great night they had, you could tell the actual memories of this great night were almost zero. And all of the good memories they had are just memories they made up the next day. Like, and I don't know if they really believed them or not, because for me, whenever that happened to me and somebody like told me something that was happening or how good something was, if I didn't remember it, I'd always like doubt, you know, like there'd always be this doubt, like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But some of these people, they seem to really like, you know, they'd start off a little bit skeptical, they'd really get into it, and you know, it goes, and it's just like, well, you know, like nobody's really having the fun they think they're having with this, are they? And
For sure.
you know, it's definitely very unhealthy, and people just act like dicks on alcohol, right? Like,
oh yeah,
you never
our inhibitions disappear, our manners, the way we were raised, it's all gone. And you're 100% right. We kind of they'll kind of tell themselves what happened, and then they'll tell the story out loud, and then other people will accept that, and then they'll be like, okay, so that's what happened, and they'll tell the story again, and then the next time they'll tell it factually, and then that's that's the story. That's what happened, and they truly believe that. Like humans, we're good at that. We will tell ourselves that something happened, and that's the story. And you're right. It's fucking destructive, man. Alcohol is, like Jordan Peterson's saying, if it was introduced today, it wouldn't pass. It wouldn't pass at all. It's not good.
Yeah, it blows my mind that alcohol is legal and promoted, and then something like weed is like still illegal in most of the world, right? Because alcohol like just seems to ruin people, and if you drink a lot going out, like I always remember one of my psychology professors said that, the more you drink, the more you're reduced to basically a frog. And you've only got the 4 F's on your mind, right? Like food, fight, flight, and fucking. And that's it. Right?
So true.
And it's true. It strips away your personality completely and a lot of who you are. And we say, it releases your inhibitions so you can be more who you are. But for me, it's the opposite, right? It takes away from who you are. And
yeah, well, releasing your inhibitions isn't always a good thing. They're there for a reason. It's a thing. Inhibitions are not necessarily a bad thing. I know that I shouldn't do something because I know that it's the wrong thing to do, and that's just the way it is. And just because my inhibitions are gone and I feel comfortable doing that doesn't mean the scenario has changed. The laws are the same. People feel the same. It's just me that feels different. So yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so much like most of the regrets that I have, and I've not done anything like, particularly bad or anything like that, but most of the times that I've regretted have been, because like it was just a lot of alcohol involved, and that's not, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good. And as I said, I think it takes away from who people are a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just the inhibitions that go. It's a lot of the rest as well. And you act like the most basic of animals, and that's not who you really are, right? Like, so yeah, I don't really drink alcohol at all anymore, given the option, except when it's like somebody's special occasion and I'm there, and it's kind of rude to not.
Yeah, no, I get that. No, you're right. It's not just inhibitions. It's your core values. It's the stuff that you've put there in place over years to kind of develop as a person and grow. And I've seen people, literally throw relationships away because they throw friendships and full monogamous relationships away because they feel that in that moment that's all that matters. And it's sad, man. Like, you're right. People, a lot of the time, a lot of the studies show that a lot of the shit that happens is quite often not just while people are on alcohol, but while two people are on alcohol, So, yeah. Anyway, well, that's a fucking sick way to start it. Let's go, dude. Get into it.
Every time, God, like first time we just jump into veganism, now we're going into the downsides of alcohol. I'm sorry, we always start with these like heavy topics.
I love that about you and me talking, dude. I think it's great. I remember, I remember when Copper Pitch watched our first podcast, and he said that I loved that Gods Unchained podcast because you guys didn't really talk about Gods Unchained, and that's some of the best Gods Unchained content. So yeah, it was really cool. Awesome. So one thing I really do want to kind of get into with you on the topic of Gods Unchained, because that's what you and I do. I wanted to talk about your tournament that's coming up. So for people that haven't heard of the Summer Series, or for people that have, you were on my stream tonight. We were discussing, you were helping me commentate like you did, I think, 2 nights ago. And that's what I love about, you and me. You'll come on the stream and it's your home as well. And you help me commentate matches. And at the moment, I think I'm 2 days off the end of the current tournament that I'm running. But then next week we move into yours. So what are you what's the rules for next week? What's the vision you've got for it? And what's the format? Like, just for everyone that doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, so there's going to be some repetition here from that some people have kind of heard before because I guess it's going to be recorded,
Hmm.
and I kind of want to cover everything then.
Let's go.
Um, it's going to be a 2-day event just over the weekend, which means that you have to be there for it.
Hmm.
You don't have 24 hours to play each game. You've got 1 hour to play each game, and we get to really get it going that way. And I've tried to set it in a time that's reasonable for everywhere around the world,
Hmm.
which is difficult because like America is 12 hours behind me.
Mm. Mm.
And a lot of the times these tournaments start at good times for Americans and good times for Europeans and terrible times for people living in Asia.
Yeah.
So we're starting it a little bit early, which hopefully gonna allow a lot of people to get there, and that way you don't have to play every single day,
Mm.
which can be tough, for me as well. I play this game so much, but I can't play every single day easily.
Mm.
There's a couple of days that just too much going on, and the rules are going to be Welcome and Mortal Judgment only.
Mm. Nice.
Really want to try and bring it home to the new players that are joining. And right now, if you're joining like recently, you're not going to have a lot of the core cards, and the core cards are really strong.
Hmm.
They really kind of make the deck. You're also if you're buying packs, the packs you're going to be buying, they're Mortal Judgment. A lot of people were complaining about how cheap Mortal Judgment cards were. Well, that's perfect if you're a new player looking to pick up a few key cards
Hmm.
because, hey, look, everyone's talking about how cheap they are. So it really lowers that entry, like that barrier of entry, without making it just welcome,
Mm.
which, is a whole different, load of issues.
Yeah, it can be very slow when it is just welcome. Absolutely. I think this is the first time I've seen this format, so I'm super excited about it, man. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, I saw this once before when the first tournament I entered, and in there it was Divine Order and Welcome, and that really allowed me as a new free to play player, because I'd only been playing a very short period of time at that point, to compete
Hmm.
and actually do quite well. And when I first heard about making this tournament, Cuckoo in my chat said something that really resonated with me, because I was thinking about, oh, what could I do? How can we make this fun or interesting? And she said, don't forget where you came from,
Mm.
right? And I think that's important because where I came from was this free to play background where the unrestricted tournaments. I felt like I did not have that much of a
Yeah.
chance to really get there.
Mm.
Whereas this was a completely new format. It didn't use that many cards, especially expensive cards. It used only the cheapest cards available.
Mm.
And it was the kind of thing that, you had to actually think pretty hard about. There's not a lot of pre-built decks. You can't just search on GU decks, go on the page and be like, oh, I'll take that deck and sub in like, 2 or 3 different cards. You've really got to look at it. And that brings me to the third reason why Mortal Judgment has a lot of fun synergies,
Yep.
but the core cards are so strong that a number of them really don't get to see play
Mm.
very often, right? So you've got things like, I call it M War,
Hmm.
Masochist War, a name I shamelessly
I
stole.
dig it. It's Masochist War. I dig it.
Yeah, yeah. And so with that, right, like you've got all these cards that when you take damage, you'll gain extra stats and things like that. So, right, like that is, you can't really get it off the ground in the current meta, but in this format, you've got the chance for that meme to really, like high roll your way through. And if you get a decent start, you can go a long way with that.
Mm.
You also have things like other domain deception, right? Like a deck that's pretty, subpar right now
Hmm.
in the meta. But in this format, suddenly these cards and these things can actually really take
Mm.
off. And I feel like there's a lot of that going around, and it just gives this potential for new synergies to really like be shown without being so under like crushed under the weight of the sheer power of some of the core and Genesis and other cards going on there.
Mm. That sounds awesome, dude. Like, I'm really keen on seeing. I really like that whole deception build. You know, summoning war cards and doing all that. Like, I think it's really cool. And I think by eliminating a lot of, well, all of the other sets, you're kind of going to be focusing on the new mechanics that have been coming out. You know, it's going to be very echo driven, very tempt fate driven, very empower driven, all that stuff. You know, because that's where the power is going to be. Like, I'm excited for this, man. So. Is it going to be like best of 3 across the board? Like how many? Like what's the?
Yeah, it's going to be best of 3, and I feel like that's best, especially with a format like this where you don't have as much removal, and so you don't really know what you're going into as well. And if it turns out that one deck in the end does come out as better than the rest. You can win with that, sure, and they might win with it as well, but you still have to then bring something else, right? You're not just locked into one thing and everybody running one thing. Because I don't know what's going to happen here. I've done some experimenting, and I found quite a few decks that have the potential to work, but who knows how far it's really going to go. And so, yeah, I also think that in something like this, there are a number of like high roll memes, and a best of 1 can feel really bad there.
Oh
so
yeah, absolutely.
The best of 3 gives a little less this high roll variance, and you a little more control over your chance of victory.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the more access you have to more cards, the less so. Let's say, for example, in an unrestricted tournament, you could do best of 1. It's not going to affect your draws and stuff as much. But in these starter deck tournaments I've been playing in recently, the starting hand can really mess with you. The mana curve can mess with you, and that's obviously the mana curve is going to be eliminated a bit with the Mortal Judgment because it's quite a large set. But I think that's a really good idea. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the less cards available, the more chance for. Let's be real. The more chance for bad luck at time to time and bad draws. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these decks are a bit high rolling, right? And it being a best of 3 gives you the chance to actually roll those dice. And if you win, great. If you lose, well, all right, now I'm going to go for my more consistent thing, and try and, pick it up from there, and it just, it gives you a few more options instead of being like, oh my God, I need to find the best deck ever and just play only that the whole tournament. And,
yeah.
Then there's no,
so
yeah, there's less in the way of mind games and counter picks and everything.
Are you going to do, and forgive me if you've already answered this, I can't remember, but is it going to be win with 2 gods?
Yeah, it is win with 2 gods. You can't just use one deck throughout the whole tournament. That would kind of defeat, some of the object of it. And we want to see what does well. And to that as well, on the sign up for GU Stakes or not, when you actually go into the tournament, you'll see at the end you've got your normal tabs. You got the restrict, the overview, the matches, the brackets, and at the end there, for those of you that are betting. Betting people, you have the props.
Yeah.
And you can actually put in USDC on the Polygon chain, because that's what the tournament is on, and bet which god you think will have the highest win rate. So I know that's not going to be of interest to everybody, but the winnings are going to come out of the pool.
Okay.
And so if you are, if you think you've got it, you know what is the key to this format, then you can bet on which god you think is going to have the highest win rate throughout the tournament. And if you're right, hey, that prize pool goes to you guys.
I haven't seen that before. So what you're saying is that, let's say, for example, people bet on... So first question is, do you have to be in the tournament to bet on this?
That is a question for the GU Stakes guys.
No, fair enough. And
I'm still a bit new to all this myself.
And then the follow up is, or just for understanding. So it's like, okay, so me, Dub, I entered, like I think War's going to win, so I just bet that War's going to win, and then it goes into a pool, and then I get a return on that if that's true? Is that how that works? Like,
Yeah, yeah. All the entries go into a pool, and you don't have to do it. I'm not planning to do it myself. It's an option, take it or leave
mm,
it. But if you are into that kind of thing, or you really believe you've got it, then yeah, you bet you say like, oh, I think war, I think Magic's gonna do the best. I'm gonna put in like $2 or something like
mm.
that, and it goes into pool, and then someone else goes, oh, I think nature's going to be the one, and they put in $2, and it turns out that nature wins. Well, they get the $4
Mm.
then, and it's divided up between the people that put in, right?
Oh, I didn't realize that was an option. And it's exciting, but I'm just gonna be obviously you and me have great, rapport, and I feel like I can talk to you about anything. And I think my biggest concern with that, bro, is abuse. Like I remember back in the RuneScape days, the Jewel Arena started as a really cool thing, and people ended up losing a lot of money. And one thing I've been paying attention to recently is the whole thing with, XQC being sponsored by Stake. They also, so for people that don't know Stake, are you familiar with Stake, Wisps?
I am not that familiar with any
No?
of it, to be honest. I don't get into betting or gambling much myself, and I
Yeah.
don't follow like XQC or anything either. So you're gonna have to let me
Yeah,
know.
well, this isn't for I just think as community kind of leaders is something that we should be kind of aware of because, and I think another thing is because you and I we operate in the crypto gaming space. One thing that I've kind of realized and this is a really touchy subject by the way, so I'm not putting any judgment anywhere. I just think it should be spoken about, I guess. Crypto, we saw what happened with Luna, for example, right? We've seen people have a really bad time with certain coins, and we've seen people lose a lot of money. And I think I just want to, maybe just quickly slip in here now that neither Wispsi nor I kind of condone gambling. I'm not saying that. This is just a thing. Like, I'm not out here to. We make no money from people doing that. And I think people should always be careful with gambling because we the last thing that we want is for people to have a bad time. So please be careful if you do choose to gamble. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that in there. So this state company, basically, they it's like an online casino kind of thing where you can bet on anything, mostly, cards or whatever. And they actually, for people that don't know, XQC is a really big streamer, he's biggest in the world right now. And they also sponsor Drake, the hip hop artist. They'll actually pay him to come on and do 2-hour poker streams on Twitch. Which is crazy to me. And I saw a lot of negative kind of backlash on these people for doing that, and I just, I don't want people to kind of associate that with us, doing the GU thing. So, I just want people to be careful. Is basically all I'm saying. I didn't know that was an option there, so I just think it's what I'd love to find out is are there limits to it? You know what I mean? Because I just don't want people going crazy. Yeah, and yeah.
I got to admit, I got to admit that I don't actually have much in the way of an idea about it. As I
Mm,
said, it's all very new to
mm,
me. And yeah, like I not following along with that kind of thing. I didn't, think that hard about it because when I saw it there, I thought that it was, in a small kind of
mm,
thing. And please, guys, don't ever, don't ever give out more money than you can afford to
mm,
lose. I think that's something you've really in the crypto space
mhm,
especially is something that everyone's really got to take to heart because it's very easy to be like, oh well, and we saw with the big crash, right? Like people were putting so much of their money into into these cryptocurrencies, and then when it crashed, they lost, more than they could afford
Mm.
to. And I think it's in this space especially, it's really important to never put in more than you can afford to lose and not
Mm.
miss. Especially with a silly bet like
Mm.
this, right? Like it's it's it and at least with this one, I think there is some control,
Mm.
but yeah, I don't want people to be having problems with it
Of
either. And
course.
it's thankfully it's not the kind of thing that you can repeatedly
Mm.
do over and over again or anything. And I know that we've had before, like what you call it, like there's a lot of tournaments have had like bets on the side of who you think is going to go further, and uh, I can't remember exactly what it was called. But like I've seen, yeah, a number of the tournaments before where people do, like, they fill out the bracket of who they think is going to win and stuff like that, and you can actually for some of these tournaments before, being able to put in a little bit of money and have the chance to win big if you pull it out.
Mm.
But uh, yeah, please guys, don't be
Mm.
responsible. It is, you put money, if you are going to put money on this, it's the kind of money that you'd spend, instead of, like, getting a drink or something at
Mm.
the pub. Not like, you know, life savings on
That's it,
magic,
dude.
right? That is unlikely to go well, and I do not advise that or condone it
Yeah,
at all.
and I didn't mean to kind of go down
Um,
this like negative rabbit hole, but you and I, like, we're both pretty empathetic
it's
people.
an important thing to
Yeah, I
bring
just
up.
thought, yeah.
As I said, like, I don't do gambling as such, because I don't have money I can afford to be losing on it. And so sometimes I think, well, like, the way I think is how the majority of people think. But I know that there are, now that you bring it up, some people do have a problem with
Mm.
gambling, and that is, some people have a problem with everything, but I don't think we should, you know, encourage it,
Yeah.
like, you know, in any kind of way like that.
No,
Um,
I feel you.
but the option, the option
Mm.
is there, and as I said, small time guys, I didn't expect anyone to actually use it uh, at all. I just thought that it is one of the functions on
Mm.
there, and hopefully, with you said, as you said, like, by putting limits in there, this is something that, can really help mitigate any of those things. If you can only put in, say like $5 or
Mm.
something, you're really not at risk, right? And so by actually bringing this up now, we can potentially, put a stop to any real abuse coming through by thinking through the issues now. And so I'm really glad I brought it up
Mm.
here, because this is feedback we can give in, and I think that's really
Yeah, I
valuable.
think it's important that we just have the convo. And as you can tell by like the energy, it's like a bit slower and we're both a bit thoughtful. And it's just important that we just have the uncomfortable chat because neither you nor I want anyone, just we just don't want anything bad happening to anyone because of like no cap, you know what I mean? So I just think, yeah, it's something that we could probably bring up with G Sector. And who knows, it could already be a thing. I don't know, it could already be something that they've incorporated, but it's something that we could definitely, will definitely bring up just to protect people from themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah. As I said, a lot of it's, this is the first tournament that I've ever made or anything at all there, and uh, yeah, like I put it in to bring attention to it as a feature that they have
Mm.
going on, because it is a feature, and so people in the future, somebody's going to be using it. Somebody's going to be
Mm.
using it, and I'm glad that we did, because now I've put it in, and we've had this
Mm.
chat. Suddenly we've got some really valuable feedback to give back that can just make it still a bit of
Mm.
fun, but at the same time safe for
Yeah.
everyone. Because it's not like online slots or anything where you're just constantly like, oh, more money, another gamble, next gamble, next gamble, next
Mm.
gamble. It's one thing for the whole tournament, but I think it is worth putting a cap on this kind of thing, just to, you know, if there's not
Yeah.
already, and who knows, that there might be. I am definitely not the
Yeah,
expert,
absolutely. No.
but just to stop, anyone getting burnt.
No, yeah, no, and I just thought I'd bring it up, and I'm glad that we got that out of the way. Now that's out of the way. So, just between you and me, what kind of which gods do you think are going to be kicking us? I got to buy Sophia a new car, brother. Come on, let's go light. Come on, mate.
No, I honestly, that's the great thing about this tournament, though. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I've got, like, I've got decks that I think could be very good for a lot of different gods. So I'm really curious, and yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, it. As I said, I don't gamble. I didn't put this in there for me to, I didn't come in with like, oh, well, this god here clearly is the victor in this format. You know what? If I put in, like 6 houses worth of money, like, oh, no, I have no idea, and I don't think anybody has an idea right now, because nobody's played in this format at all. And even all the tops, the higher level players and stuff that I've seen and asked about it are like, oh, well, I kind of tried to throw this together, but I'm very unsure, and I like to see that, something new,
Absolutely.
right? Like, because so much of the time the meta feels very solved, especially with, we've got like the core cards, the Genesis, the Divine Order, like all these cards, they're not changing. And so we add something new in, and there's a couple of new decks, but there's also a lot of the same things going around as there always have been.
Well, speaking of meta, well, first of all, have you got anything else about your amazing tournament? Because I'm really excited. I'm super chuffed about it, and I can't wait to enter. Have you got anything else kind of to do with that you want to, pop in there?
Yeah, I would really appreciate if people can send in videos, we can get some streams going on, just so that, because it's going to be a 2-day event. I'm going to be streaming throughout the whole thing.
Nice.
And, the more content we get, the more fun everybody can have. And I'm willing to, spend longer than the actual tournament takes, going through some of this content, casting these games, to get as much out there as possible. Because I think whilst most people have fun playing in a tournament, you can't compare to the fun of 100 people, enjoying watching it, right? That's one person to 100. So I think that's where the true value of these things lies. And I want to be able to, give the fun and excitement to as many people as possible.
I love that. So save your videos, yeah.
I will also be giving away, I'll be giving away some little cards, raffles for people that do send in videos or stream their matches. And along with that, throughout the week leading up to it, we've got, I'm going to be playing on my stream, that we're going to be doing a lot of streams throughout that week. And I'll be playing, viewers for, with this restricted format.
Oh.
And also using the GU stakes, I'm going to be doing some giveaways for XDie, so that, we can play a match on the GU stakes. And that way, if you win the giveaway, you'll be able to play me. As I said, I'm not a big gambling man, and I think this is less gambling, but, it's card game. There is still some luck required. So it's only going to be for 1 XDie, right? But there's your chance to win 2 XDie.
Double your money, man.
All you got to do is win, right?
Oh, that sounds good. It's really good that you're incentivizing the content thing, and I think that all players should get in the habit of that, regardless. Even if you're, let's say, for example, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like over the years, especially when I used to play Hearthstone, I used to get a lot of value in watching back my games when I was playing, Battlegrounds, championships. There's so many things that I missed whilst I was playing, and then when I recorded it, watched it again, I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So even if people aren't streaming or they're not in the habit of recording their videos, I think it could be really, really fruitful for everyone involved, and it's good that you're incentivizing that, bro. That's what I've been trying to do as well. It's harder, it's easier said than done, but I think if we can condition the community to get in the habit of that, everyone will benefit from that.
It's funny actually, because when you bring that up, every single game I've played, one of the first pieces of advice any top or pro players usually give to players trying to improve is watch your games back. Right? Like, just watch your game, because you'll think you did everything right in the game because you're in the moment, you go in with it. But when you watch it back, you'll see things that you didn't before, because you're no longer focused directly, on what's in front of you. You start to see the wider thing because you're not clicking those buttons, and you see where you're moving. You're like, whoa, wait, what am I doing here? Like, what is this guy doing?
No, it makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, that is one of the best ways to start improving, just to watch your games back. And hey, if you record it here, not only do you get to watch it back, but we can cast it, commentate, and don't worry, we're gentle people in this community, mostly. I am for sure, but it can help point out things that maybe could have gone a different way. You never know.
No, it's good to see it, because when you're in the heat of the moment, you're making decisions based off the timer. You're making decisions based off what you can see at the time. But I also think, just taking some time sometimes to look back. And this is also advice to new streamers as well. I think in anything that we're doing, I find it cringy to watch my streams, but it's also important to look back and go, well, that didn't work. I was a bit of a dickhead there. Could have changed something there. It is productive to do that. Yeah.
I should really follow this advice one day myself.
It's just good to see, because in the moment I'm like, this feels awesome, and then I watch it back and I go, oh fuck, man, what was I thinking? That was dumb. It's not just So I think that's good advice for anyone trying to perfect any art, really. Yeah, cool. So tournament is what's the dates for this again?
So it starts on the 9th. And then we're gonna have the final couple of rounds on the 10th.
Dude. So, and you're gonna be streaming the whole time.
And it's gonna be whilst the tournament's going on.
Dude.
Yes, we're gonna start the stream a little bit early as well. Get things going, and hope these games are gonna start coming in quickly. And ideally, if you guys can really help out and give us that. Give us your games as well. We're gonna have games throughout the whole thing.
The GG boys will be giving you games. I can guarantee that. You're gonna have a tsunami of GG games coming in. I'm telling you. You're gonna have a lot of GG in the finals as well, bro. I'm telling you right now. I'm getting the premonition of GG finals coming through.
I will try to keep my bias out of the casting.
Cool. So one thing I wanted to ask was, there's a couple things I wanted to ask. So last time I interviewed you, I actually received a request from someone to ask you about Team Phenol. And they wanted me to ask you about the team, and they wanted me to ask you about the, what it's like to be in Team Phenol, and also, the process to I guess, get in the team and what you can expect for being in there. So this is me directly asking for someone that asked me to ask you. So, yeah, could you tell us a bit about your team, how long you've been in there, what it's like, and for people that want to join, how do they do so?
Yeah, so I've been in Team Funeral for a long time now. The first team that I joined was Team Toxic, which was very easy to join. Wasn't actually that toxic. Was full of a lot of really lovely people.
That was when I interviewed Fake Muse, I didn't realize he started that team. Like that's wild. I didn't really know that. Yeah,
he did. it was actually really awkward because that first tournament that I told you about, um, I left Team Toxic like the week before that tournament to join Team Phenor, and then during that tournament, I was matched up against Fake News.
That's huge.
So, for me, it was, especially the new player, and he's kind of one of the big names in this
Yeah.
game. I don't know, he's very good. And so it was, I was like, oh my God, I cannot lose here. I cannot lose here, like, oh my God, like not after just leaving
So
Team
how did that
Toxic.
game go?
I won game number three. I went second, like every game or two out of
Hmm.
three games. And in that format, it was it
Yeah.
was pretty rough. But thankfully, luck was just on my side. He was unlucky with his confused creatures, and my untamed regrowth, the one that confuses all the
Hmm.
creatures, really came in clutch at like the last moment to help me
You
secure
dropped
that victory.
Pandora's box of confusion on him, and there was, by the sounds of it, no druids on the field to capitalize on that.
Indeed. But yeah, no, so for joining Team Fëanor, it's I think the easiest way is to catch Fëanor streaming. He streams
Mm.
a lot, and get in that way. Personally, I've had a lot of help and support from the team in terms of cards and things like that, and occasional deck ideas. The Discord's usually pretty
Hmm.
friendly. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of good players
Mm.
in there that if you reach out to, I'm more than happy to help with any kind of advice that you might need on anything G related.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. I've still, as I said, like I joined that week, and I was lent some cards. I still have them to this day, and I'm not saying join up, you're gonna get
Mm.
cards.
Yeah, that's important that people don't just.
It's not
I,
always.
I don't like that. People just
It's
joining to get something. That's not what it's about, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think just by joining up you're gonna get cards exactly. But if you show that you are, willing to, put yourself out there for the team, then the team is often willing to put themselves out a bit to help you
Mm.
too. And I like that kind of
Mm.
atmosphere, um, where, yeah, if you get what you
Yeah,
give,
absolutely.
right? And I think that's
So,
good.
how long has Team Fennel been around for? Roughly, I heard there's about 600 people in it. Is that true? Is that actually true?
It's quite
That's
large,
massive.
they really reach out and try and like he really, reaches out to try and include like as many like new players and players that, a little bit, a little bit scared to, go for like, one of the more competitive
Mm.
teams or something like that, just it's very inclusive, like, oh, come join in and we've got, support here, to help you, as I said, like not just cards, because also like just in the way of like decks, helping people build decks with the cards they
Mm.
actually have, because a lot of the time people are not playing the best decks they could be playing, right? Like if you're new to the game, you don't really know what's
Mm.
that good, and so having all these experienced players and quite a lot of streamers and people very active in the Twitch community, there's a lot of knowledge out there to
Mm.
draw on.
Well, that's
Um,
priceless. That's potentially, I think, the best asset to any group, that knowledge. If someone makes a mistake and they tell you about it, you don't have to make that mistake. It's a beautiful thing. Um, cool. So, big team, friendly team. What's the recruitment process like? So, if, for example, someone watching this would like to join Team Phenol, how would they go about it?
as I said, I've not actually gone through the recruitment process
Hmm.
myself.
Could they message you or
I
someone
was
else,
kind
or?
of so Pheno stream is the best place that I know to go to. I don't have the invite link to the Discord myself, and I would probably end up pointing them there. Because I think, like he likes to know who's joining, right? Like, and I think that's pretty big as well, right? Like the leader likes to know who's joining, not just like, oh yeah, get in there, look at my numbers, look at my numbers. It's a little more personal than that, which yeah. So go to his stream, ask him about it. He will be more than happy to answer. And
no, I love it. No, and like I said, I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that I asked for feedback off our chat last time, and someone literally said to me that, they wanted to know. So I just thought I'd, show that I do listen and that we can bring this stuff up. So, yeah, cool. And it's good to know that, the leader wants to know all that kind of stuff. Like I was actually saying on stream earlier today that I was a little bit excited actually because with my team, with GG, like I've known everyone real personally that's came in. Like we've only got about 60 people in our team. But, I actually don't know 3 out of the 4 people that joined yesterday. And that kind of excited me a bit. I was like, oh, that feels like, that's like, it just feels a bit newer. Like it wasn't me that recruited them. You know what I mean? And that, obviously I know them now and I'm chatting to them now, but I didn't have to do it myself. And that kind of felt good, man. Like that felt kind of good. Like, yeah. Fuck, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but I just wanted to share that because it felt really nice.
I mean, I think you take the making it personal and getting to know people to a whole nother level, which I really respect. I think it's difficult, right, when you've got such a big team to really connect with that many people and still do like all the streaming that you do. And yeah, I really respect that, and I think it's amazing.
Thanks, bro. No, I'd like to be a bit more hands-on with GG. Like I'm pretty hands-on, but in saying that, it is difficult when you got your work life and you got your family life, and then streaming is such a priority to me. And now that I'm doing, the podcast and working on the socials and YouTube, it kind of, you have to choose where your time's going to be. But the team is super important to me. Like, I'm just really blessed to be surrounded by just really positive people, and I feel like and one thing I feel really proud of with GG is that we're extremely welcoming and we don't really talk shit. You know what I mean? Like there's no room for shit talk in our team. And I think that every team is kind of reflective of what their leader is like. You know what I mean? People want to act the way that their leader acts. So yeah, it feels good to see that. And I'm really happy with where the team's going. And yeah, I'm not trying to plug my team, but just saying.
To a certain extent, but I think even Fake Muse will agree. He's not always the most subtle person.
Of course.
When it comes to say pointing out mistakes or things like that, he can sometimes be not the nicest. Sometimes he can be nice, but sometimes he's not the nicest. But in Team Toxic, there were so many nice people that like really reached out and helped me get started. That yeah, I
would expect that. Like just because the team is called Toxic, it doesn't mean you expect. Hey, can I help with the card? Fuck you! Like, could you imagine?
Well, it's not even yeah, but it's not even like with cards and stuff. It's just the Torbjorn TH, right? Like,
which team is he in?
He
true. Toxic. So Toxic's still going.
And yet, that man is probably the least toxic person I've ever met. Right? He was in Team Toxic, but he, especially when I started playing this game, I learned so much from him, about how to build decks, better ways to play, more efficient things to do. And it really helped me out a lot. And he would, he spends his time on his stream just going through things, telling, like new players and anybody, like solid basics to really get them started. So
no, I love TBH.
Yeah,
I really appreciate him. Again, him being a Swede and my wife being a Swede. they have this real funny sense of humor. You can't just go to a suite, hey, how's that chocolate cake? And then go, yeah, it's good. They always say, it's not bad, or it's not the worst I've had. And it's just like, that's just how that's their humor, you know? And some people take that as rude, but it is literally just how they describe things. You got to get used to it, you know? But like, so if Fake Muse left Toxic, which he told me in our chat that he did, so who's running that team right now? Who's in charge of the ship?
I have no idea. I don't even know if it's really acting like a
Mm-hmm.
team anymore, or anything, because as I said, I left it long ago,
Mm.
early on, to join up with Team Funeral, pretty much when Team Funeral
Mm.
started. I do not know how long ago that was. My sense of time is uh, not amazing.
Sick. All right.
Life keeps going, right? I forget how old I am almost every time. I got to like math it out when people ask, right? 'Cause, as long as you're enjoying your time, it doesn't really
Well,
matter,
that's it. No,
right?
I heard an interesting thing. I'm currently writing a book, right? And I'm in this chapter at the moment, and I'm talking about time. And uh, I heard I can't remember who said it, but they said basically because you know when you're younger and time goes quite slow, and then because my mum used to say to me when I was a kid, you know, oh, when you're a kid, I was like, 'cause she'd be like, "How's school?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it took ages." And she'd be like, "Well, you know, enjoy it while you can, because when you get older, time goes really fast." And now I'm 33, time's kind of flying, you know. But I've devoted this whole chapter of my book to time because I heard this person describe it in such a way, and they said that the more you're learning, the slower time is, and if once you're in a routine and you're not absorbing any new information, time speeds up. And that's why time seems so slow when we're young. I mean, as we get older, it literally flies because we're not learning anything new. We're not taking new information on board, and we're kind of in our routine and we just do the thing. We wake up, we have our coffee, we have our omelette, we go to work, we have, you know, lunch in the same place, we say hi to the same people, you know, we have similar topics to talk about. We have our own little niche groups of friends, and then we go home. We watch the same shows. You know, it's a routine. Like, have you ever thought about that? I know I'm just kind of coming out of nowhere with this, but I found that concept fascinating. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, how do you feel about that
I
now that I'm bringing it up? Because I know it's a bit random, but you know, it fascinates me.
I mean, random is what we do
Mhm.
here, it
Mhm.
seems. So it's fitting. No, I like that. I also think that's a really interesting
Mm.
theory. But my immediate thought when you said it was that when I'd be playing when I was young, right, and I'd be playing, like Diablo 2 or something like that, or even chess, and or like StarCraft, etc. I would I would spend a lot of
Mm.
time learning, right? Like, especially like, something like StarCraft, like, you got all these little games. You're really, you're improving. Like, I play games
Mm.
to get better, not
Mm.
not just to play games. I like to really, focus
Mm.
on improving. But at the same time, oh my God, like we had dial-up internet back in the day, because that was the only thing
Yes.
available. And my mother would be like, all right, you can go on it for
Mm.
1 hour. And 3 hours later, she'd be like, "Look, you got to get off. It's been 3 hours. I need to use the phone." And I'm like, "But I
Mm.
barely started." You know, so it felt like time was flying then, for sure. Even though I was learning and improving, like I felt
Mm.
like a lot. And I don't think learning, like, so you got two
Mm.
ways of playing games. Like some people will play a game and they'll just like switch their brain off, and just kind of like whatever. But for me, like I start like really going deep into, like what could happen next and next and next and next and next, like, and And in some games, like you've got to react really quickly to different situations, but then you've also got to still plan, like, well, like it can go this way and then this, or it can go that way and this and then that, and or this and
Mm.
this and this, and so there's really a lot to be thinking about and learning, but at the same time, oh God, time flies. You wish it could last
That's
longer.
it. Like when you talk
Um,
about that, it's like, yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Uh, but I also think it has a lot to do with memory. You know what I mean? Like as we get older, I think our memory kind of gets worse, or we can retain less. Therefore, we remember less of what's going on. Therefore, it just seems like it goes faster. Do you know what I mean? Because we're not. I don't know. Like I could really go into this. Like I'm fascinated by time.
yeah, I
Mm.
can agree with that. And memory is especially with the kind of
Mm.
society that we live in, where it's very focused on routines, and a lot of people are very focused on
Mm.
like TV and things like that, where it's a lot of time where you're at work, your brain just shuts off because you know let's be honest, the majority of people work in
Mm-hmm.
low-paid jobs. I think it was something like, it's like 46% of people in England were below the
Really,
poverty line in some
46%.
way.
So, what's the
It,
where
it,
is
it
the
was it was
poverty
huge,
line?
right?
What what's that like roughly?
Well, that's the thing. The poverty line is so high because there's obviously, a few people earn incredible amounts, and then minimum wage is can be difficult to live on in England. It's a very
Mm.
expensive place. And so a lot of these people on minimum wage, they're working jobs they need to survive, but they're not fun or interesting in any, a lot of the time they're
Mm.
they're kind of unpleasant. And so, your brain just kind of like, switches off. You just routine, wrote like, I just got to get this done. You go through it and then you go home and you watch TV and your brain switches off again. And I feel like, yeah, you lose a lot of time. And, like parts of your life just, all kind of like
Mm.
one thing, put together. But yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting to
Mm.
think of it that way.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, no, I've been obsessed with it, bro. I've literally been obsessed with it. Like it's something I think that if we could crack the code, we could, if and on cracking the code and passing on knowledge. Again, just skipping to another thing, if you could go back and outside of telling younger you to buy Bitcoin or whatever else, but if you could rock back like 15 years and tell yourself one thing off the top of your head, like, oh, I know this is like minimum time to think about it, but if you could impart some kind of knowledge on yourself, what would it be, you know?
I guess it would be don't don't listen. Don't
Shit.
listen. Um, do what feels right to you.
You 15 years ago, he's just going to be masturbating a lot.
Because
He's hormonal. You know what I mean? You just...
no, I mean, so yeah, but like when I was, I get that, sure. Um, right, but that's regardless of my advice, that's going to be happening, right? Like, it doesn't. But at the same time, right? Like, when I was younger, I was
hmm
a vegetarian, and the whole like, and now as we discussed last time, I'm vegan, but in between that, like, between 16 and like 25 or 26, or it's like, I don't know, it's like a good 10 years between like the end of school and the uni and the time after that. I lived, quite a decadent lifestyle. I ate all of this meat. I was drinking all this alcohol, which, I was drinking it past the time that I realized how
Mm.
much it sucks, just because it was the thing that people were doing. And I really like where I am now, but I feel like I am where I am now because I took a step back. I hit a really low point in my life, like really low. And it wasn't until this, like some things, bad things happened, and I was like, well, you know what, I can't, I'm not happy like this. I gotta really take a look inside myself and see, you know, why and what
Mm.
I can do, and how I can change this. And I feel like all these pressures that are like normal in society are put on you, and I don't think they're good for people. I don't think I think they're good for you, like, your bosses that are making the money off it. But, and even the schooling, it's awkward, right? Like, all this pressure is put on you to conform and do things that are not good, you know, for you or for the world or anything. Like we see, we're
Oh
destroying
yeah.
this planet completely, but everyone's okay with it. Everyone's okay with it. They're like, oh well, I can't. It's the done thing, everyone does it. I can't change. It's the done thing,
Well, I
We'll
don't
just
think
carry
people
on
are
then.
okay with it. They're
And
just not okay
if I
with
could
doing anything about it. You know what I mean? Or changing their life. Yeah.
Well, exactly. They'll still do everything that
Yeah,
contributes towards it,
absolutely.
right? Like, everything they can do that contributes towards it,
Mm.
they don't stop most of the time. And if yes, if I could tell myself when I was younger, it's like, don't listen to, the TV, or, like the people in school, or the people trying to set you up for these, dead end jobs and stuff. Like, don't listen to them at all. Like, just be who you are, and do what you think is right, because like I went through a lot of years of unhappiness trying to, you know, be this, like fake, like kind of fit person that, like you see on TV or whatever, as having fun and being, all that, living this great life. And really you know, the life
Mm.
isn't that great. And you're left with just a lot of emptiness.
That's fucking that. No,
So,
that's beautiful. No, I'm no.
sorry,
That
way
is
too deep. Again,
perfect,
like,
brother. That is the exact type of conversation I'd have, and you're 100% right. And thank you for sharing that with me, man. That's really vulnerable and really nice. So don't listen more so to what the world says we should do, or like the message of the groups we identify with. Is that what you kind of mean by that?
yeah, I mean, like, just don't. Yeah, like, it's just so encompassing, right? Like the pressure, right? Like from a very young age, like you're bombarded with it on the TV, like of these, like this kind of like idyllic, life or way to be, however it is that you want to go. There's always a way that, it kind of hits you that, like can mess you up. And then in schools, that they might be better now, but, especially back then, like it was like they didn't even have like
Mm.
vegetarian menu, or meals, available at all. And like for, like I would obviously, get laughed at and,
Mm.
bullied for not wanting to
Ugh.
eat meat and things like that. Like a lot. And like the pressure is all there. And then you go into work, and they tell you, like, oh, you've got to do this, this and this, and you got to be this way and be this way and all of that. And it's never about you. It's always just about how to maximize, these profits. And
Mm.
it's not a good way to live. It's not a good way to live. And that's not how, and I'm glad that I've got out of it, but it took a long time, and it took me hitting like rock bottom before I really, started turning into the person that I wanted to be. Which, uh, like, because you get so misled along the way by all this, you know, the, all these social
Mm.
norms,
No, just the way that you just said the person that I wanted to be. That it just rings so. I just feel that, man, 100%. Like when we're younger, even now, I want to be something that I'm not. I think I think being okay with who you are and loving yourself for who you are is such an amazing thing. And I'm not fully there yet, but that's such incredible advice, dude. That is like really really nice, actually. And then some people may see that as dark, but I see that as real, bro. Like I really appreciate that, 100%.
yeah. Well, it
Mm.
it is what it is, and yeah, like it's just so much pressure from people that, all they're doing is copying what
Mm,
they've seen anyway, right? Like they're not really thinking for themselves with that either. It's not like people are thinking about it and doing it. They're copying what they've seen, on the TV or parents or school or anything. And it starts at such a young age. It's just, you know,
yeah.
ingrained, and
Yeah,
very
no,
difficult to break
as
out of.
humans, we are definitely in one way or another institutionalized on the daily, and whew, that's fucking awesome, dude. I love that. So, yeah, awesome. Thanks for answering that in a vulnerable and open way. So, a couple more things, if that's all good. I wanted to touch on another topic that kind of got brought up recently, and one thing that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I am, a pretty emotional dude, and I'm also kind of tied into GU, and I want to talk to you about the offering of the gods, if that's okay. Uh, so, I mean,
Sure.
I this thing got announced, and I thought to myself, hey, this is cool. The game doesn't have to, do this. They don't have to. We'll keep playing regardless. Some people won't, some people will. But how do you feel about the offering of the gods? And I've got my own opinions on things, and, we haven't really spoken about it a whole lot. We've spoken a little bit about it, but, just clean slate. How do you feel about it? How do you feel it was presented? How do you feel it was handled? And how do you feel it was handled by the community? And yeah, what other insights do you have into it?
Yeah. So this is I only just watched the recording the other day. That when they announced it on Twitch. As I said, I've been busy and there's always so much backlog to catch up on. I've still got like a couple of your podcasts to go through.
Mhm.
It's difficult to balance, like a full-time job and streaming and then catching up with everything as
Mhm.
well. But I don't know, like for me, I think I so I like, I spent my gods recently on cards and things, and I think I got
Mhm.
good value for them, right? So I can't complain if they're gonna, give me some free stuff, but not as much as I possibly could have had, right? I'm still gonna be
Mhm.
getting some free stuff, right? Like and what I spent it on, I've got value out of, right? Like I've got value out of all this time, um,
Mhm.
since I spent it. So I don't feel like I'm losing anything because like I mean, I spent it. Like I spent it on
Mm.
things I wanted to. That's how it works. So I think it's just a really nice thing to be doing. Like they don't have to be doing it. It's kind of like an unexpected gift.
Mm.
That's how I saw it. But I saw like uh some people being quite upset over the fact that they had, like sold loads of gods and got loads of cards for them, and they've been using that money and cards for months or whatever, and now they're not going to get as much of a reward as they possibly could have. And I wish I could say it surprised me, but
Mm.
people are people, and these things happen. But I was maybe a little bit disappointed in some of the responses that I saw because you could tell from that stream like they were coming out with this like
Mm.
really good news, right? Not only are you going to be getting rewards in the future, but hell, a lot of people are getting a reward. Like most of the people are going to be getting some kind of reward that they didn't, for stuff in the past they didn't even know about.
Mm.
They weren't even planning for. Like it's just like here we go,
Mm.
have a nice gift, and I feel like that
Mm.
should be like personally for me, I was very happy to hear it. I was like, sweet, at least
Mm.
I'll be getting something. And I didn't get any of these original drops of Gods
Mhm.
airdrops or anything, right? Like I didn't get any of them. I wasn't playing the game. I didn't even get anything for the Flux. I started after all of that as well. So I got none of the previous airdrops. So my amount of Gods, really limited
Mm.
compared to some people's. Um, and I still feel like the ones that I spent, when I spent them, I got value out of it.
Mm.
That's why I spent them, like to get the value. So yeah, I like what they're doing. I think that as soon as they don't have, like a proper staking thing in place, it's they said for a long time that they'll be bringing it, and then there was silence, right? There was
Mm.
silence for a long time after the blessings of the gods, as these things, the forging wasn't quite ready, the
Mhm.
staking wasn't quite ready. They thought that they'd have it by the time, but they didn't. And so to see that they're, still actually trying to give us
Mhm.
something in the meantime, I was really happy to see that, like the efforts there, they clearly care, right? And um, on the actual video where they were giving it out, you could see the excitement coming from them, and I could feel it, and I was excited myself, and um, yeah, I was a bit yeah I was a bit disappointed with some of the response to it, but I
Yeah.
also saw a lot of excitement there, and I was happy about that, and I hope that most people are gonna take
Mm.
this in the spirit that it was given, and not be like, oh no, well I spent all of my gods and got value out of them for months, but I also want to get extra drops on top of that because like it,
Mm.
like what you
Mm.
can't have your cake and eat it too,
Yeah, no,
right?
I,
Like
I, I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with everything. I will say that the timing wasn't perfect, but I mean, I look to my left, I look to my right, and we live in this world, and timing is rarely perfect in anything. And I think it's a big can of worms to open up. But I love your point of view because yeah.
I had literally spent my gods like
Mm.
like a couple of weeks before, the timing. But didn't they say that it's going to be in like weekly snapshots
Yeah,
going dating back?
I'm not like I think you're
S-
right, and it's not just what you're holding; it's also packs purchased and trades. But I'm not 100% sure. But I will be doing a YouTube video on that. So I wanna, yeah.
Yeah, I'm I'm not 100% either, but like the way it sounded to me from what
Mm,
I've heard from people, I've
mm,
not seen the AMA yet, so my information is always limited. But I thought that it was going to be like you'll get it,
mm-hmm,
it's for each week, and currently and then looking back, they were going to look back on a weekly basis too, and not just be like, oh, this is your, what you had right now is your one score for the entire,
mm,
past 6 months. So I thought they were going to do it on like a weekly basis, at which point, people will still be, if they were playing, they're still
mm,
going to be getting something back for that. And the timing's never going to be perfect. And let's be honest, it's what, like, in the past 3 months, the GU team has expanded, like,
mm,
they've more than doubled, right? So, in a way, for a lot of these people, they're just starting out, right? Like, this isn't, I don't think this was necessarily always going to be a plan. It's, okay, we've got this idea now to, keep the interim going and get everything sorted. So, you know what? Let's also try and reward these people that have been sat there, for like six
mm,
months without any word, just, playing and keeping supporting the game.
mm,
Let's give them something too, right? And I feel like that's where it came from. And I think the timing was because before this, there wasn't a plan like this in place. I'm not sure. I don't have any insider information. I
mm,
speak less with them than you do. But I like the feeling that I got for sure was that it's, like as the GU team's expanding, new ideas are coming in, and all these things. And I feel like it's not like, oh, we're just going to drop it on them now, right? Like, and not give them any warning. It's, we're going to drop this and we want to get it out as soon as possible so people know. And I mean, if you're going to, it doesn't matter, right? If it's a weekly, if it is going back, 'cause it's on the blockchain. So everything you've got, everything you do, it's all out there. It's all public information, so they can go back and
mm,
look on a weekly basis as to what was going on. And at that point, there's no point in being like, "Oh, we're going to release this information about
mm-hmm.
God's airdrops in a month's time," because like, what would be the point? like then, like you literally like
Yeah.
there's literally no point, right? There's literally no point at all. Like what they've done is they've been like, right, this is our plan. We're implementing it now. Let's let people know. And at the same time, we're going to reward those people that have
Yeah.
been with us the whole time. So I think it's personally, I really like what the team has been doing lately. And, I really think that people got this and just immediately saw, oh, the things that I could have
Mm.
gotten if I had known, without thinking about, where it's come from for one, and also the value they've already gotten out of all of the gods they've spent or,
Mm.
sold and things like that
Yeah.
in the
No,
meantime.
I dig what you're saying, and I agree with basically everything you're saying, 100%. Like, and that's the thing. I did a little bit of trading. Like when the Forge came out, I was checking the differences between meteorites and shadows, and I made a fair bit of money. I'm just going to be straight up. Like I noticed that I could buy Wither Fingers for $5 in a meteorite, and I could sell them for $60 as a shadow, and I capitalized on that multiple times. So the way I see it is, getting in there and proactively trading like that. Like obviously you're taking a risk, but I started by just doing it with one, and then I'm not going to tell you how many times I did it, but I did make a bit of money. And the way I see it is the way that normal staking rewards work. For the investment I put in to be literally doubling my money multiple times, no staking is going to pay out even close to that. So I feel as if the value was quite good. And you're 100% right with the cake and eat it too. It's like, hey, here's this feature. We brought this feature out. You guys want to use this feature? Cool, sweet. Here's another feature. It kind of contradicts the other feature, but it also is another opportunity to make money. Oh, but this, and then people like, and I think you hit a nail on the head there when it came to original rewards, because I wasn't part of any of the early airdrops either, and I was kind of blown away just at the amount of gods that were airdropped. I think it was in the hundreds. I think it was about 500 gods per person in a certain time. And shit, man, like, I could be way off, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember exactly what it was. Like, because this is all me looking back at it. But this is when I first started, and gods was worth like $5 or something, bro. So it's just.
Yeah. Some people got like thousands, like if they were really, holding a lot during those times. And yeah, it's a ridiculous amount. And the people that sold it then, I think they already got a lot of value out of it, and they've had, this money and all that time to be, as you said, like you traded your gods in for double the money. You're not going to get double your gods in airdrops, like from
That was
this.
huge, dude.
I So right, like I feel like the value, people think about what they could have missed out on, but they don't see the value they already got
No,
from it.
absolutely. So we've covered what have we covered? We covered tournaments, we've covered a couple of deeper things. We went over alcoholism a bit, and we went over a few other things. Have you got anything else you want to kind of chuck in, my dude? Like it's I'm not going to lie, it's getting a bit late here, but I really enjoy talking to you and with you, and I want to make sure that we touch on everything. So, is there anything else you want to kind of chuck in at the tail end, my dude?
I
Fuck
would like
yeah,
to ask
let's
you a
go.
question. What is your
My favorite
favorite
card
card
art.
art?
Oh, dude. It it has to be Alistrina, dude. I think that she's just gorgeous. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. Like, she's tattoo worthy. I wanted to get her tattooed, and I want to, and I will. It just came down to coin at the time, and but yeah, I think Alistrina. I don't know, and this is something I think that GU could kind of look at doing, and like something like this in the future, because with Magic you've got the people, they kind of sign off on their art at the bottom, and I don't know who does the art for GU, but I would be really interested in, considering this is an NFT kind of, well, it is an NFT game. I feel as if if the artists were able to make themselves known, there'd be a good opportunity for them. Oh no, wait, but they couldn't sell their NFTs. Yeah, wait, that doesn't work. Scrap that, because they couldn't have the cards. But yeah, Alistrina, my dude, Alistrina. I'm a pretty jovial guy. I like the fun, happy, cute stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely it's great. I like cute too. Who doesn't like cute? I think you're kidding yourself
I'm all
if you
about
don't
it.
like
What about
cute
yourself,
stuff.
dude? Card art, let's go.
Oh God, I didn't. This question was off the top of my head. I didn't prepare an answer. Uh,
Huge.
no, so the the first thing that comes to my mind, also cute.
Mm.
I like the will-o-wisp, and not just because it's not just because it's got wisp
Willow
in the name,
Wispsi.
but it is.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, the will-o-wisps
Mm.
are like super cute. I was able to pick up a couple of golden ones
Mm.
on the cheap at the time, and there are these little golden wisps as well in a
Mm.
forest. It's just so cute and looks awesome. But there are so many good-looking cards.
Mm.
Gariel as well is real cute.
Very sweet
I like that
cat.
cat.
Adorable. And becoming more and more playable as well. Sick card, dude. All about it.
Yeah, yeah. On my channel, with the card bot that I have, there's actually a thing for the art as well, and you can load up like full-sized, pictures of any
Mm.
of the cards with the command. And sometimes I will just be asking
Mm.
people, like for what like art that they like, because
Mm.
the art in this game is just so
No, I
good.
dig it. I agree. And I'm really excited to see yeah, a lot more of it as it comes out. So, well, this is yeah, I reckon this has been, one of my favorite chats. We've gotten real intimate, dude, and thanks so much for making the time to chat with me, man. I always enjoy it. And I can't wait for the next one, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for inviting me here again. And yeah, I'm sorry, we always just go a little bit too
It is
far in
what it
every
is, dude. It's just
direction.
our style. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. Not everyone will. But that's just the way it is. For people that do, they do. People that don't, I, I, it is.
As I said, I am who I am, and I like who that is now, and I'm not ashamed
Mm.
of where I came from, or any of my views. Maybe I should be, but like
Oh, man.
hey,
All right, Wispsi, well, thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to the tournament on the 9th. Yeah?
on the 9th it starts. Yep, on the 9th. So be
Mm.
there, get those games
Oh, dude, I'll
recorded.
be
I want to
playing.
see
I'll
your
be
games
fucking
too.
playing. Let's go,
You
dude.
know.
I'm down. All right, well, I'll hopefully, yeah, I'll chat to you on Twitch throughout the week. And yeah, thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate it. Have yourself a awesome night, my man. Always do. All right,
Have
see you,
fun.
Wispsy.